Live. Live on the Metal Voice. Look who we have here today. Mark Zonder, Giles Lavery, my buddy Alan. What is going on, everyone? Exciting news, Alan. What do we got?
Oh, Warlord, Conquerors. The official lyric video was launched today. And just want to tell you guys, I can't stop listening to the album. It's fantastic.
Wow, thank you.
No. Guys, it's going to be the album. The Epic Metal Legends Warlord return with a new album, Free Spirit Soar. And the first single was released today, Conqueror. It was just released digitally, right, Giles? Just simply digitally?
Well, the Conqueror's single is going to be a 7-inch coming out in April to precede the album, which is out in May. But, you know, as is typical, the lyric video is out and it's also on Spotify, just that one song for now.
All right.
Yeah, back in the day, we used to have a show here in Montreal called the Metal Voice. And it would be at 11 o'clock on every Friday.
No, not the Metal Voice. Not the Metal Voice. The Metal Files.
Sorry, Metal Files. There, Warlord.
That's cool.
September 11th, 1985 was when I picked up my copy. But I mean, Lost in Lonely Days and Deliver Us from Evil. I mean, that's the one song I could not get out of my head. And it's become a kind of a legendary album ever since. So I think many fans are glad that you've re-recorded again and got the Warlord label out there and be able to have some new music from you guys. So
no, it was great. Just right up front, like I was telling Jimmy before, though, they won't get the credit for it, but between Giles, Jimmy Waldo, and Eric. I mean, I played the drums, Philip played the bass. Okay, we had the easy gigs. These guys really went through Bill's tracks, and stuff that I had that I've been working on with Bill 2016, 2017. And we really couldn't get it going. Bill was having a lot of health problems, and it was just one of those things where we just couldn't get it going. And between Giles and Eric and Jimmy, they put it together, and it was really it's kind of like what the Beatles did. They beat us to the punch with that thing of using Lennon's stuff from long ago. And it's, I had Bill's tracks right here, and we kind of went from there. So it does kind of crack me up when I see people going, man, this doesn't sound like Warlord. Sorry, that's Bill, man. Sorry. I'll let him know you don't like it. Okay.
Agree to disagree.
But those guys did an amazing job putting it together, and I can't give them enough credit because God knows I don't have the patience to do that.
Giles, what was your first experience, being in the band? And a lot of people don't know this, or some people do, and some people don't, right? So just tell us about how you slowly transitioned into the band over the years.
Well, I mean, there was a bit of a backstory. The guys, I think, were having a bit of a hard time finding a singer, or they'd found a guy and he, it just wasn't progressing as quick or as effectively or efficiently as it needed to be. And I mean, Bill and me were friends already, and he knew my band Dragon's Claw and was very complimentary about my voice. And they had someone else they were working with for the live shows. It was different than the guy that had done the record Holy Empire, which was a guy called Rick Anderson, who wasn't going to do the tour. And I think it just, a few names got, pushed around or talked about or whatever. And that's, as you do. And then Bill, I think he said, well, what about, he rang me up and said, well, look, can you record Deliver Us, Child of the Damned, Lost and Lonely Days, and Aliens? I'll send you the backing track. And Mark actually sent me the backing track. Can you record those? I want to hear what you sound like on them. And I kind of blew through them one afternoon because I didn't have my own recording set up at home. I went to Dragon's Claw guitarist Ben, his house. And I said, man, do you have a couple of hours today after work? I need to record these things for Warlord. So I did. And I didn't even think I kind of did them as good as I could have because, I just hit 2 hours, but sent them back to Bill. And then,
And you're in Australia in all of this. You're in Australia.
I was. And then Bill rang me up and said, we got a lot of work to do, but you're in. And that was kind of it.
Well, that's not really the story. What the real story is Giles bought onto the band for $5,000. The real truth of the matter is, and God rest his soul, is Greg Anaya was going to sing. and we've been leading up to him, and he was supposed to be like, Bill and I had benchmarks. Like, okay, we were like 6 months out. Like, okay, after the first month, you got to turn these 2 songs in. We need to make sure you got them. And as we were progressing, Bill and I were kind of going, I don't think this guy's going to come to the finish line. So what was it, Giles? Like a couple weeks before, it wasn't like, hey, Giles, you got 5 months, learn it. It was like this last minute. If Giles ain't doing the gig, it's going to be Warlord instrumental, because it got really tight. I mean, like scary tight. And he did a great job, and he stepped into a totally unfamiliar situation, and it was great. He did a great job, but it definitely was. He saved the day, and it was this last minute kind of thing, because it kind of blew up on our face. But that's typical Warlord, always having the singer blow up in their face. So nothing new.
It was last minute. I think it might have been like, at most it was like a month, and it was like, wow, you got to learn 18 songs, and it was. I mean, the first gig wasn't. We didn't go play clubs or have any warm-up dates or whatever. The first gig was headlining like a pretty decent sized festival, and I remember doing sound check, and I'm looking out there, and there was a lot of merchandise sellers and people selling their wares and various things like that setting up. And I looked out and went, man, there's more people here for sound check than any gig I've ever played in my life, It was, and by the time the gig came, the place was rammed, full of people. And it was like, you step out. I never played to an audience that big before. We're talking, a lot of people, lot of people.
It was like 3,000, I think.
Something, and you walk out and it just hits you in the face. It is like being hit with like a fan blowing wind on you. The fan's going, and you've just got to find your footing really, really quickly. Because if you take your foot off that accelerator, you're gonna be about that tall in about a split second. So it was like, here we go, So, and then when we got to Greece, those shows, it got better and better every night. But it was only 4 gigs. So by the time we kind of really like, wow, we're cooking now, it was kind of done. But that'll change. We're going to do a lot of shows, hopefully, with this band.
Giles, you've been a longtime friend of the show. It all started when you sent us a Dragon's Claw CD going back, I guess, a decade ago almost. And you do such a great job in the metal voice intro. We've got nothing but compliments for your vocals on that. But I'm listening to this album. I would never think it was you. I mean, this is like a different, I don't know if it's a different range, or it just seems like so, I don't know, your voices. I just love the way your voice has grown and matured. I guess it comes with age, I guess we can say, but just fantastic vocals on this.
Well, it's a little. Why I appreciate that. I mean, it is a little bit like what's appropriate for the band. I mean, if if you get a role, I mean, I can only liken it to like acting, where if you get a role in a movie, and there's a big difference between Mr. Bean and Dracula. They don't call for the same thing. Warlord isn't about just shrieking your head off top to bottom. Whereas some other gigs are. And I was very conscious of that. I didn't want to just come out let's just show everyone how high I can scream and how long I can hold the notes. And because that's going to get pretty boring in about 3 minutes, So it calls for different stuff. I kept a lot of Bill's advice in mind, and there was a whole lot of what would Bill do, going on.
Alan, hold up the album, Deliver Us. So that's back.
That's cannons.
The cannons.
That's the cannons of destruction have begun.
There's a funny story about that too. I'll never forget. Well, the first funny, Warlord has an interesting recording beginning. Deliver Us, $800, start to finish, 8-track recording. The engineer was smoking cocaine cigarettes the whole time. He was good friends with Stuart Copeland, so Stuart Copeland shows up just to make fun of us. Because Warlord with the names Thunderchild and Destroy and all that. So here you got. It's
true. The Thunderchild business.
Yeah, Thunderchild.
I forgot about that. Giles, we need a name. What are we going to call him?
Damien King.
No, that's taken.
No, it's funny about that. Not to get off on a tangent. Look how many guys out there now have goofy ass names. Please. I mean, Bill was ahead of his time. End of conversation. I mean, that's all there was to it. But anyway, so you do an $800 record. The 2 bass drums and the bass guitar are on the same track, bounce down. Okay, lovely. We go to do the second record, and we're doing the soundtrack for the video, because we're not going to be able to play live when we do the video, so we need to have the recording. And technically, the whole record's out of phase. Another $800 fiasco at a small little studio in North Hollywood or wherever. And Warlord never got really the ability to really record the proper way, per se, I guess you could say, in a really nice studio with a great engineer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's refreshing toward the end where we were able to do that kind of thing and really see, what it comes out sounding like.
And shocking enough, the Cannons is the only gig, the live performance you ever did without an audience that you videotaped.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Well, again, this was kind of our brainchild. It's like, okay, we're sitting there in LA, we're watching Motley Crue, Faster Pussycat, Rat, Warrant, get all these deals, and we're going, okay, that's not really our gig here. How do we get out to the European audience? You got to remember, there is no computer and there is no social media. So we go, okay, why don't we do a video? And then at least people in Europe can see what the band is like. We're a little ahead of our time in that respect. Borrowed $5,000 from my parents, and we went to Perkins Palace. And the funny part of it is, Perkins Palace is the same place where Spinal Tap shot that scene where they come in with the Black Album or the White Album or whatever that whole
it's
thing
all
is.
black.
Smell the glove or whatever. That is Perkins Palace. The funny part about that whole video shoot is, we had to hire the film crew, we had to hire the lighting, we hired this, the sound, the playback, whatever. Complete disaster. We're thinking, okay, we're going to film this 4 or 5 times, different angles. This will be great. Technically, it's about 11:45. We got to leave at 12 at midnight. They're sitting there like this. Okay, time to go. Haven't filmed anything. Well, it was more than that because we did one take. That's why if you ever noticed, it's 2 cameras in the back and they switch back and forth for each other. They're never like anything happening from the drum side or anything like that. And I'll never forget about 10:30, the sound engineer sits there and goes, "Hey man, I ain't turning these faders on until I get something to eat." And we're just like looking at each other and we're scrambling. It was rough. I mean, it got done, whatever, but it was rough. Let's just put it that way. It was rough.
Giles, tell me about your fascination with Warlord back in the day in Australia.
Well, New Zealand, I'll go one better. It was,
New Zealand, yeah.
I lived in New Zealand before I lived in Australia, and Fascination, well, I mean, I bought the best of Warlord on CD, the one with the castle on the front. Because I just bought it because it looked, like here's a metal band I haven't heard. And this is, I was like 9. 9 or 10, and I bought it. And, Deliver Us was track 1. I was like, wow, this ain't, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. Is this a Cookie Monster kind of thrash metal band? Is this, is this another one of them Queensryche kind of copy things? No. I put it on because it didn't have any information on it. It didn't say recorded 1983, recorded 1984. It just was like released 86 or whatever the CD was. And I loved the songs. The first thing that stuck out was like these songs are amazing. Every song is different. They seem to have had a number of different singers here because I'm hearing at least 2 different voices. And the thing I did recognize was Mark. Well, there's Mark's name, and I know him from Fate's Warning.
Yeah.
So I kind of, for me, it was like before I found out about who Bill was and this guy that's writing these amazing songs, I made the connection between, this was Mark Zonder's band before he was in Fate's Warning. So that got me even more excited. So, you need something to kind of grab hold of when you're getting into a new band. And the minute I figured that out, I was like, right, I'm going to give this one another spin and another spin and listen to it again. Before I knew it, it's one of my favorite CDs. And then I just, try to find the original EP and the Cannons video, which took me forever to find a copy of. Yeah, I mean, I was a kid. I was really young.
Cool.
And now you're fronting the band.
In full circle,
right?
in a way.
It's a bit like that movie. It's the Steel Dragon,
Except we're missing one small thing.
What's that?
Million-selling record. That's
yeah.
the success that Mark Wahlberg had there with Steel Dragon or whatever they were called.
Steel Dragon.
Steel
There
Dragon.
were no castles on the hill that we drive into or anything like that.
So
Right.
Mark, here's the naysayers. The naysayers, how dare you, Mark, go out as Warlord? How dare you? Bill is dead, and Bill's like iconic, especially in European communities, right? In metal communities, that is. What do you say to the naysayers who's saying, how dare you do this? You cannot do this. I mean, of course, there's a lot of love too, but the naysayers.
Do I need to say anything?
Well, I don't know. You could say whatever you want.
You know, I mean, it's funny this day and age. It's kind of like I could sit here and spend my life on social media, going down the rabbit hole. Um, I'm 65 years old. My mom's dead. She ain't telling me what to do or not to do. I mean, you know, am I doing anything illegal? No. Uh, I don't know. You know, we could get into this long discussion, and I could bring up emails from Bill telling us to continue and go on. And, you know, I told Mark 20 times, go get another guitar. Well, even when Bill was sick and he was alive, he was like, man, just go get somebody. Anybody can play this. You know, just go get it. Let my music live. I mean, and here's the real bottom line. I'm not a Justin Bieber fan. I don't buy the record. I don't go to the gig. I don't spend my life on the internet. Justin hanging out. You know, I was talking to Giles the other day, and I go, Giles, could you imagine, you know, when I was 17 years old, and Journey was my favorite band, and I'm talking the first 3 records before Steve Perry. I mean, still my favorite band, but anyways, well, Kansas too. But anyways, could you imagine me sitting down and typing out a letter to Herbie Herbert, you know, manager of Journey, and say, how dare you get Steve Perry in the band and take away Greg Raleigh's vocals and get rid of the jazz space jams? Really? Really? If you're not into it, man, walk on. We're good. We're good. I just don't see that, you know. I don't see that, you know. Oh my God, I can't listen to Deep Purple anymore because Richie Blackmore left. Blah blah blah. People,
well, they're on Mark 5, right? Whatever Mark they're on. I don't know what Mark they're on.
You know, people need to realize a couple things too. Bill died. Okay. He didn't get kicked out of the band. Mark and Giles didn't hijack the band, and you know, whatever you want to say. He died. Okay. Show a little respect. You know. That's about it.
Plus, you're a co-founder, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, and yeah, you know, we had a partnership, we had a legal partnership, and you know, I was just one couldn't have went without the other. You know, yes, you know, Bill was writing the music per se, but there's a lot more in a band than just writing the music. You know, so. But I'm not even going to that thing. I'm just saying, hey, if you're not into it, that's great. That's cool. You know, listen to what you want to listen to. I listen to what I want to listen to, and then just move on from there. You know, instead of sitting there spending your life on the internet typing out how what we did was so god awful, why don't you go feed the homeless? You know, do something productive. You know, start your own band. You know, but it's just really, you know, again, I was talking to Giles earlier, and I said, you know, if I was going to teach a class, I'd tell all the bands right now that are coming out, yes, put your stuff on social media, but don't ever read any of it. He goes, you know, just as a human being, you don't want to read it. Yeah, the good stuff's great, you know, but you don't want to go down because you take it as like a personal thing. So you have to learn just to go, whatever, you know, moving on.
Robert Plant didn't read the interviews and the
well, I sometimes wonder if, I mean, you got Pantera out there hitting it pretty big right now. I mean, is Charlie Benante on Facebook reading like, you know, fake terror or Pantera tribute, you know, all these comments? I don't think so. I mean, maybe he is. I don't know. But and it's not really my place to comment because I wasn't there in 1980, 1981, 82, 83. But you know, what's the alternative that this music doesn't get played live and enjoyed by people, that the band just kind of fades away into obscurity because there's nothing that refreshes the brand. It's like John Oliver once said. They said, well, why, you know, how dare you, or why do you continue when your brother Chris died? He said, well, number one, he's my brother and I want to honor his memory. Number two, he goes, if Sabotage just packed up and quit in 93, we wouldn't be talking about them now. And there certainly would have been no Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Well, what's kind of interesting too is I'm rehearsing these songs and I'm playing them, and you know, all that's happening is when I'm playing them is these images of Bill are coming back. You know, I'm playing them, I'm having these images of when we played those, you know, small amount of live gigs. When I'm playing, I'm thinking back to the old Warlord Manor days. I'm thinking back even to the warehouse before that when it was just me and Bill standing around in his Kiss boots, and we're playing Battle of the Living Dead at 275 beats per minute. I must have a stroke. All those things come back, and it's like, why shouldn't I be able to play those songs live? Why not? I mean, I have a feeling there's people in this world that have played those songs live more than I have. So, you know what I mean? So why can't I play them live? And let's just dispel the rumor now, because Jimmy brought it up. What do I say to those people? Trust me, there's no money in this. This is not a money thing. Believe me, it's not a money thing.
Well, it's funny because Mark and I are kind of like, we've had some decent interests, some decent offers, but it's always kind of like, wow, do you think we can get from that gig to that gig okay, and still kind of not come out, it's not going to be like break the bank too much. These are not, $1 million offers. This genre isn't even that big. This subgenre is even smaller. This has nothing to do with money. This is about the music and playing. And it sounds like a cliche. It's all about the music, man. But it really is. It's about celebrating the songs, the band.
And the truth of it is, Giles works his ass off managing 19 bands. I have my businesses and recording stuff. Bino's out with Vi all the time. Jimmy's out with Alcatraz and a million other recording projects, from people worldwide. I mean, it would be great. I would love to tell everybody, hey, man, it is about the money. And we're all making $250,000 a year. Rock on, see you in Rio. But it ain't. It's not, And anybody, it's so funny though, because anybody that's in the business will go, "Oh yeah, it ain't about the money." They know.
Yeah.
Why do you think certain singers play in 74 different bands? Because they got to make money. People have to work, But this one is definitely not about the money per se. It's not like we were just discussing. A gig from what was it, from France to Italy. It's like, well, how are we going to make it there? It's like, well, if we fly, it's going to cost this much. Well, we're going to have to drive all night, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, and then all we need is, someone to break a guitar string, and there goes the budget. So it's not what
drumstick.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what people exactly think. I mean, our biggest problem is just getting proper gear and not having to pay a fortune to bring it with or ship, like all these small little items and whatever. But no, it's not about the money. And I love these clowns who are on there. They're doing it for the money. I'd go hold up a liquor store if I was really looking for money.
It's kind of cool that people think it's still like that. Like, wow, those guys must be rock
It never
stars.
was. It never was like that. Are you kidding me? $800 records?
Right.
Yeah.
I think we just spent double that cutting a couple of B-sides. I mean, I don't even know how you did that,
Well, if you saw the studio, and then you didn't get belittled by Stuart Copeland,
No.
I was gonna ask you, Mark. Was he making fun of you, and then until he heard you play, or he
No, he was making fun the whole time. He was in there indulging, and he was hanging out with the engineer. And I think that the whole thing with the Destroyer and Thunderchild and Warlord and the whole thing, you got to remember, he was playing Message in a Bottle.
Yeah.
Now if he tells you it's not about the money, he's lying through his teeth. Okay.
Right.
But it was, I mean, he was cool. He was funny and cool, but he had that edge. He definitely had an edge.
I think what people don't realize how epic Warlord is. You had Bill with his neoclassical Randy Rhoads style guitar playing. You had Mark. The drumming is phenomenal, especially on the first two albums. And Alan could attest to this, man. The drumming is just out of this world. I don't think people truly. Maybe they do, right? Because it's grown the band. The band has grown, Mark, because of the quality of songs and musicianship. And and they're melodic too. They're catchy, right? It's amazing how this band was this little tiny little niche band, and it's kind of grew into this kind of cult status over the years.
I've always said it, and it was the coulda, shoulda, woulda band. It's, call it timing, call it the gods just weren't shining down upon us, call it whatever you will. It was had nothing to do with the intensity and the drive of the band. The really problem in the beginning was the singer. We talked to them all. We talked to Just Got
Typically,
Soda.
it's the drummer, but in your case, it's a singer, right?
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, my whole career has been plagued with a singer problem. It's kind of, it's not funny, but Bill and I used to say, we looked at each other and said, man, if one of us could sing, we wouldn't need anybody else, you know. But no, we talked to Just Got Soto, we talked to Mark Bowles, we talked to Neil Turbin, I mean, you name it. I got a million stories on the singers. I'll never forget, the funniest one was it was a no-name guy, but it was this blonde dude from Hollywood, or no, from Hollywood or Malibu, shows up at the door, comes into the rehearsal. Dude, what's happening, man? Like a total surfer dude. And we go in and we start playing Holiday by the Scorpions, and all of a sudden he cops the German accent. And me and Bill were like looking at each other. It was funny. We had our moments, we had some, there was some fun times. There was definitely some fun times, but it was the singer. It was just such a problem. I mean, we did do a showcase for Bill Aucoin, and he was telling us about this guy from this band Generation X that he was going to manage, and that turned out to be Billy Idol.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack, the original singer. Here's Bill in his Kiss boots and Craig the bass.
You're talking about Damien King now, right? Damien King.
This is the original. This is the original.
Damien King.
DK, man. DK is in the house. So yeah, and so Jack was basically kind of like a pop singer, studio guy. Again, back then, all these guys looking for the money. They're looking for the money. You got to have the money. We do a showcase, and people have to remember, Bill pitched every singer, every line. Okay, at that point, it was Bill's gig. So, anyways, we do the showcase, and Bill's looking like he's supposed to look, and Craig the bass player is looking like he's supposed to look. And I think that was Jerry Alcivar who was playing keyboards, and he was cool, and everything was cool. And then Jack the singer comes in with eyeliner like nobody's business, and literally like a kid's Halloween cape with that Patti Smythe black and white striped shirt. And we're like, what in God's name is going on? And Bill Aucoin told us flat out, great band, you need a different singer. That was it. That was it. And then Jack was a great singer. There's no question, but he wasn't into the band at all. I'm not sure whatever happened with him. I don't know if he pursued it. A lot of guys bailed. It just amazed me how there were certain opportunities and certain people just couldn't see it, I guess. So that was our problem. That's why we never got to that status, like you said.
Yeah. Giles.
So the one guy we haven't spoken about is Eric Juris, right, on guitars. Let's how did he come into the project?
Moving right along, as we would say.
Eric, well, my friend David Reese, who's also a singer, he just said, look, if you're looking for a guy for Warlord, I know this guy Eric. And I mean, people recommend other people for things all the time. I mean, it's always like, hey, keep me in mind if I kind of went, yeah, okay, cool, I'll check him out. And I sort of didn't. And then about a week later, David's like, man, you really got to check out this guy, Eric. I'm like, oh, I think we've kind of got a guy that's going to, work on some stuff with us. Then finally, I think Eric reached out to me and I said, okay, well, because we were talking to several different people, and like one guy we pretty much, I mean, I think the search party is still looking for him. I mean, he was going to send some tracks back, and he was in a big band too. I mean, he's
that's a good hour of our lives that we'll never get back.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had a long talk with him, and he said how much he loved the band. He was super into it. And this is a known guy that's been in some big bands. I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to embarrass him, but I mean, wow. We were like, well, if we could get this guy, this would be great. He goes, I'm going to have the tracks back to you in a week. It's been like a year. So
you still waiting?
Anyway, finally, Eric sent back the tracks, because we sent him like from the live record. We just pulled off the guitars, we pulled off everything kind of but the drums just to hear his guitar. And he sent some tunes back, much like my audition was. And we're like, damn, that's not just close, that's really, really tight and really spot on. I mean, it's never going to be Bill, because Bill was obviously a very, very unique player, but as far as the parts go, it was dead on. And we're like, wow, okay, this is the guy. Wow. That's how we found Eric.
The other thing,
and I would agree with that. I mean, me and Alan, we heard the album, and wow, it's eerie, it's scary. It's just how
Yeah.
close he is. It's just
Well, he
the perfect
understood.
replacement.
He
Yeah,
understood the
yeah.
Greek influence as well. He even pointed that out before I told him.
One of the things that I really appreciate and enjoy most about him is the professionalism. And we all know in this industry, um, it's a rare one. And just working with him, and obviously in my career, I've worked with some quote name players, and just because you can play doesn't mean you can assemble a record. Those are two
Right.
different animals there. And just working with guys that are pro, and it's just, Waldo too, and Philip, obviously. And, we put up with Giles, but, what can you say? We need a singer. I mean, come on, he shows up. But
Right.
it's just when you
He
start working
shows
with
up.
just with pros, when they say Tuesday, they mean Tuesday. They don't mean a week from Tuesday. Okay. When they send it back, it's perfect. It's in line. It's happening. It's this. It's that. It's like it's just such a pleasure because this day and age there's so much on the outside that you have to deal with. But he definitely had the nailing it down. But the one thing that I did come to realize, and it's not a bad thing by any means, and Giles said it, everybody's different. I could play Neil. I could spend my whole life learning Neil Peart's parts. I'm gonna sound like him in the respect of I'll hit the drums at the same times that he does in certain things. But every player, especially quality ones, have a certain thing. And the one thing I have learned by listening to the records and even rehearsing to some of the stuff that Eric's played, Bill just had a certain, I'm not going to say Jimmy Page sloppy, because it's not Jimmy Page sloppy, but every guitar player is just different. They could play the same part, but it's just different. And it just kind of is very interesting for me when I was playing to some of these songs, like, wow, this is kind of interesting. It's Bill's parts, but everybody's a little different,
Well,
so.
you
But
know what? We should also mention, Jimmy Waldo and his keyboard playing on this album. And there is still a Greek in the band, so that's the good news. You still have
Yeah, there you go.
you got Jimmy Waldo. Don't let the name fool you. So at least you have that Greek guy in the band, and also the keyboard playing is great. It's got that real yes synthy sound. That Rick Wakeman-ish type of
If I can,
sound.
if I can
Go ahead.
interrupt here, and I'm
Sure,
sorry,
go
but
ahead.
talk about a guy that took it seriously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jimmy. I mean, he was not like a Warlord fan. He'd heard of the band. He knew my background with it. He certainly knew Mark's background because Mark and Jimmy have worked together a lot, in the past on the Graham Bonnet band and that. But talk about a guy that just delved into the Warlord catalog and took it as seriously as anyone I've ever seen. Jimmy rang me up and he goes, "Okay, that's a 1970 something mini Moog used on Deliver Us." He goes,
That's it.
yes, I want to bring that back.
I love that
And
sound.
that's this key and this tuning. And he goes, "That's a Greek melody." And he goes, "I want to use the exact same synthesizer sounds." And I mean, it was almost like, wow, dude, like he just nerded out so much on the key parts. And when he was playing, because again, this is all Bill's music. We didn't write music. I wrote lyrics and vocal melodies, but we didn't write music. It's all Bill's music. We assembled parts that weren't complete songs, but Jimmy just stuck exactly to Bill's tracks, exactly
I
to
think
his
a
key.
little of that just goes right back to kind of what I was saying. When you're working with professionals, it's amazing what can happen and what can get done. And when I don't know if you remember, Giles, when we first started and talked about this idea, one of my concerns, and yours is too, we didn't need the prog quintessential keyboard player coming in, and gonna, oh, hey, I can make this better, and let me do this and let me be creative. It was about copying what was going on
Yeah,
and taking
yeah.
it to the limit. And again, when you work with pros, this is what you get, and again, it was seamless. Like you said, Jimmy went way beyond, he got into it, um, which was great, but he took it extremely, and a lot of guys just don't take it seriously and they bang it out and send it back. But no, Jimmy really went to town on that one. Really.
A lot of guys, a lot of guys are trying to make a name. I mean, and that's what I like about Eric as well. I mean, everyone sort of goes, "Well, yeah, I can play it, but I want to add my own thing to it. I want to make it my own." Everyone wants to, especially guitar players. There's no making there's no making it your own here. This is Bill's music. And Eric was even like, man, you've got some of Bill's tracks here you can use for this song. You don't need, these sound good enough. You don't need me on this one. A lot of guys would just want to be blazing through the whole record just so they can say they're on the whole record. That's not Eric, you know?
Well, I'm so glad the two of you mentioned that, because that was my takeaway listening to this album. It's a cohesive unit that contributes to the overall music. Like Giles said, it was about the music. So the sum is really greater than the parts. Everybody is, I don't want to say laid back or underplays. It's just that the song is what's important. So like you said, you don't have to go on a prog solo or a keyboard, if it's keyboard or guitar. It's just everybody's in a groove that is so cohesive on each and every song. That's what I took away from this album.
Well, that's what Warlord was all about from the beginning anyways. You know, it was always about the song first, and then you can get cute and do your thing afterwards. But, you know, people need to know too, live, you know, it'll be note for note as if it were Bill. You know, it'll be note for note. There's not going to be any, you know, we might have a section in there where we stop and we're gonna have the audience row, you know, with us. Me and Giles have been talking about that, but we're not gonna add, you know, we're not gonna get into like, okay, 16 bar lead. Okay, Eric, you know, I know you know, are doing the Warlord stuff, but hey, this is your time to shine. We're not doing that. People want to come see Warlord, and that's what we're gonna give them. You know, we're not gonna bust out, you know, whatever. It's gonna be exactly what they expect. You know, 17 Warlord songs.
All right. So that's what people can expect. The hits plus some new tracks on the shows at the festival dates. Is that it?
Actually, on these shows coming out, we're just playing the old stuff. You know, we want to kind of put in the water. Kind of an interesting story why I kind of came up with this one. I kind of made the executive quote decision on this one. A lot of times you go see big bands, you know, and the legacy bands, you know, that you're going to hear their hits. And the minute that guy steps up to the mic and says, "Hey, we got a new album out." Exactly. I mean, I've seen it live myself, you know. So right now, especially because, you know, and Giles and I talk about this, not that we're treading on, you know, soil that we don't know about, or like, you know, it's like we're not sure. Let's give them exactly what they want. I don't want to hear, "Oh, you should have played Penny for a Poor Man, and why did you play some new stuff that's not even," whatever. Let's just go with what we know. We've done it before. Giles and I and Philip have done it before. So let's just go do what we know works. And then we can move on from then. But let's get those first X amount of shows, establish the reputation of this band with these players live, you know, and then we could bust into Van Halen or whatever we want to do, you know. But I just thought it was important to give them exactly what everybody kind of wants. You know, let's not put any curveballs in there for the sake of that.
All right.
The other thing that keeps kind of coming up, well, it doesn't keep coming up, but I've seen it posted a few times. Two things. One is, you know, why didn't you guys do it like Schenkerfest and bring back everyone who's still around that was ever in the band, and have 4 bass players and 5 singers and whatever.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great.
It sounds great, but it's not that's like the polyphonic spree, you know, where you're just adding guys all the time. It would be impossible. I mean, like I said, budgets are not huge. We can't. It's also got to be a tight-knit group of people that really get what this is about. And that was the only way we could make this record. The only way we can plan, execute, and pull off these shows is everyone has to kind of be in lockstep with each other. You can't just let's arbitrarily bring in like a guy that no one's heard of for 40 years.
But Giles, let me ask you a question. Playing devil's advocate. Which past Warlord member is quote active?
Well, what's Damian King doing?
I mean, okay,
working in a library somewhere. I don't know.
If you can find Jack Rucker, hey, I'll get right out of the way. If he wants to come in and he can still do this like he did it then, he's in. But where is he? Where is he?
But again, though, nobody really. I don't know. You know, I'm not going to say they all came and went, and I don't want to, you know, sound like the a-hole, but it was kind of like. Anybody earn it? Anybody deserve it?
Yeah.
Why? What are we going to do? Bring in like, and then what? Hey man, I'd love to do it. I haven't picked up the bass in 24 years. Oh, great, cool. This will be great. You gotta
be in shape. You gotta be in shape.
But like I'm saying though, who's active? Rick Fox. I mean, he played with Warlord for a week and a half, maybe. You know. I don't know. The fact that, Giles is on board, Bino's been there for a while. You know, again, it goes to other bands that I'm in as well. It's like really come to the conclusion this day and age, you got to be doing things with your friends, guys that you trust, guys that you know. That so when you turn around and go, hey man, we're going to do this and this, can you make it? They'll either say yes or they'll say no, but here's two guys that'll take my place. You know, just kind of learned that one recently. But yeah, it was just important to have guys that were into it. You have to be into it. And if
Well,
you're not into it,
speaking of that, Mark, what's happening with A to Z? Is there a second album coming, or?
yeah, it's 95% done. Ray's got 2 songs to sing. All the music's done. You've got, Philip Bino obviously is still there. Jimmy Waldo, who's added his lovely touch to this record. And the guitar players are Nick Van Dyke and Simone Maloroni. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, who did the mix on the last record and will be doing the mix on this record as well, playing a lot of the lead and the orchestrated guitar parts. So no, everything's moving along. It's kind of good timing, because come August, September, we're going to be doing this kind of stuff, and through that part of the year, and we finish up that record within a month or so. Then it takes them a year to put it out, kind of thing, and the artwork's done, everything's done. It's just kind of like, okay, Ray, knock out those last 2, and Simone can get mixing. I mean, everybody else has all their parts in and ready to go.
Good.
Giles, close us out. Tell us about the album, when it's going to be released again, some show dates, some festival
Well,
dates.
we're at May the 10th. I can't tell you all the show dates right now because they do get announced when the festivals
Okay.
decide they want to announce the bands. But we've got the Truheim Festival coming up on the 23rd in Germany. We're gonna have a warm-up show before that. We've got the Golden Rules Festival in Greece, which is going to be massive. We think that's going to be on the 30th. They do have a multi-day thing though, but I'm told it's probably going to be the 30th. We've got the Ionian Warriors Festival, which I believe is the 14th of September, I believe. So, and we're filling in the gaps, and there's more stuff that I can't say anything about yet, but we're getting some, it's going to be a cool run there. We're going to be doing later this year of live shows. I'm
Well,
looking forward to it.
I got the more important question though for Jimmy.
Mm.
When's the Metal Voice concert?
Yeah. Alan,
Yeah.
when's the Metal Voice concert?
What? Why are you guys laughing, man? Come on, man.
It's to quote Giles.
The
we gotta
festival.
learn- we thought about promoting some bands, but the logistics just wasn't there. So
It's
What do you
like,
mean
you know what?
logistics? You ever
Sounds
heard of an
like a
airplane?
real red line kind of thing to do. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll stick to what
Well,
we're
you're
doing
just
right
you're
now.
just thinking about the money now, Jimmy, aren't you?
I know, really. Come on, Jimmy. We know you, Jimmy Money.
No,
Come on.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? The thoughts have crossed me and Alan's mind, and then we looked at the bottom line and we go, you know what? Maybe it's not for us.
The interesting
it's not
thing
for us.
is someone is going to get the very first American Warlord show. Warlord has never played.
Oh, there it is. There
Oh,
it is.
wow.
So yeah, we're talking to a couple of festivals, but we want to make it real
Good.
special. So someone's going to get the first US Warlord show.
You know what
Very
I was
nice.
thinking though is I'm not sure if they knocked it down or not, but how about a little revisit the Perkins Palace?
I'm
Perkins
totally into that.
Palace. There you
That's
go.
where we did the video.
That's it. Smell the
is,
glove. Smell the glove festival.
Dude, we can get Michael McKeon or whatever his name is to walk down, and do. It's your fucking wife.
It's all black. Why is it all black?
Can we get Slayer's fog machine like
Absolutely,
you guys
I'll
did?
give. Yeah, I'll give
Art
Tom a
Funkel.
call.
What was his name? Art. What was it? The promoter. Art.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Artie Fufkin.
Art
Yeah.
Funkel.
Yeah.
When they do the in-store.
Yeah.
Kick me.
Right.
Kick me. Kick me. Kick me.
That was Paul
All right, guys.
Schaefer, what? Wasn't that
That was Paul Schaefer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys.
Okay, guys.
Congrats again,
All right, so
guys.
let's go. Last note.
Yeah.
The album is going to be released May 10th on High Roller Records. That's Free Spirit Soar, and the new single Conqueror is out. So pick it up, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Always fun.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, you
Thank
guys.
you.
Congrats again. It's a
Thanks.
great album.